Hi, everybody. We are so glad you're here today. We are honored to be presenting at the Governor's Summit on Innovation and Education on behalf of OpenMIND. My name is Heidi Woods. I'm an occupational therapist, and I'm also a children's yoga teacher and mindfulness educator.
Hey everybody, I am Kendra Neff. I am a special education teacher at Washington Elementary in Minot, North Dakota. And I also am a board member of OpenMIND and have served on the board for over 6 years.
And today we wanted to share a really exciting project with you that was developed earlier this year in 2021 as a result of what we were seeing in schools, not only with the COVID-19 pandemic, but also just throughout the years of Kendra and I working in education. We really wanted to address teacher mental health, not only for the teachers, but also for the staff. And so we came up with something really exciting that we are here to share with you today. And I'm going to let Kendra talk a little bit more about OpenMIND before we dive into the room to breathe.
Sure. So OpenMIND was started shortly after I lost a good friend of mine. His name was Lee Randall. Lee was the oldest of 3 boys. And since then, his brothers, myself, and a group of friends created OpenMIND. And really, our goal is to bring awareness to mental health, to erase that stigma, and to find some good in this world. You know, oftentimes I feel that we focus on the negativity, and there's so many things that are going on in our worlds, and it's crazy and busy, and we want to make a difference, and we want to make a change. And so that's why we created OpenMIND. And like I said, we lost Lee in 2010. And since then, we have been trying to make a difference.
So with that, over the last several years, there's been a festival called Lee Walk up in Minot, and it's always the Saturday after Labor Day. So you all are welcome to come. We'll share some resources and links at the end where you can find that. But it's really to raise awareness. This project is another way to raise that awareness, and it's called the Room to Breathe. So it's an intentional space created for teachers to really go in, take a break, relax, take some time for themselves, recharge, recalibrate, and come back to their students in their classroom feeling a little bit better than when they left. So what's so special about this room and why we really wanted to create it was through, private and public partnerships. So we partner with local schools to bring mental health awareness issues, and it's anywhere in the state. But we started with Washington Elementary, where Kendra's at. I did a workshop there about 2 years ago, and it was on compassion fatigue, which as teachers, I'm sure you all can relate to. We give and we give and we give. And it's almost like an orange that doesn't have any juice left to squeeze, right? You were being asked to do more with less this past year, and I think we all felt the stress of it. Even as a parent, I no longer work in the schools, but I saw both of my kids kind of sink into a bit of a depression. They were isolated throughout COVID-19, working from a computer. It was hard on all of us. So we really recognized that we need to be proactive. We want to prevent things from happening before they happen. And it takes a wider discussion. It takes a dialogue between parents, between teachers, between administrators. And so with OpenMIND, Kendra and I started brainstorming ways that we could go from taking that workshop, which is kind of a one and done on self-care and compassion fatigue, and expand that out and really create an intentional space within the school. So we kept saying, take your breaks, take something off your plate, relax, take a moment for you, practice your mindfulness. Well, in a busy school day, when can that happen? And so with the Room to Breathe, what we did was create this space to really address this. And below are the numbers. I'm not going to read these off to you, but suicide has increased immensely in our state, immensely. And we recognize that, with Lee, it can happen out of nowhere, right? He was kind of the life of the party. Nobody suspected anything. And then boom, one day it just happens. We want to prevent that. So in talking about, mental health in numbers, I mean, they're there for you. You can see what we're up against. And so this was our way of kind of addressing that in education, specifically with teachers. So this is a dedicated space within a school exclusively for teachers, support staff, secretaries, and it provides an immersive multisensory experience designed to decrease the physiological response to stress. What does that mean? That means from the moment you walk in, the lights are dim. There aren't any fluorescent lights, which have led to a lot of eye strain and headaches, especially when I worked in the schools. I felt it every day. So it's calm lighting. From there, you hear a little fountain. We've got a fountain on one of the tables. You sit in a state of the art, kind of like the Cadillac of all massage chairs, which can recline back and gives you that proprioceptive input. We store a lot of stress and emotion in the body and just physical tension. And then you can listen to a guided meditation. I've recorded a number of them for the school, and also nature sounds if you just want to listen to some rain falling or, anything that you choose. You can also just sit in silence. And then we have essential oil diffusers in there, some gratitude, journals, books on just anything you can think of, but all to increase a positive mindset. And so why? Teaching is tied with nursing as having the highest stress rates of any career. I was pretty shook when I saw this stat because my kids are in school. I want them to be with happy teachers, stress-free teachers, but we know that that's not really the case. So the Room to Breathe really provides this opportunity to address teacher mental health and well-being, because we know that has a ripple effect on their students. Children mirror the nervous systems of the adults around them. So we really recognize we want to have, more calm and productive classrooms. We have to have more calm and happy teachers. And that's really the ideal state for learning, is to be calm and alert. So teachers can go in, enjoy a few moments in this beautiful massage chair, have access again to these guided meditations, nature sounds, dim lighting, and just take those moments for them. And we are not recreating the wheel here. There have been some award-winning hospitals across the country. Cedars-Sinai, for example, during COVID, took a storage room where they had a lot of lab supplies and used that space and did something very similar. Incorporated a lot of plants, just because we know all of these things contribute to greater mental health and well-being. And the name, Room to Breathe, we really recognize that when you take a few moments, even 1 to 2 minutes, just to do a simple breathing practice, you are activating your parasympathetic nervous system. So the breath impacts the nervous system impacts the brain. That ultimately impacts our attention, our impulses, and our emotions. So it's one thing to say, take a deep breath. Well, we know that doesn't always work, right, when we say that to kids, but when we take time, 1 to 2 minutes, we can actually reverse those physiological responses to stress in the body. Kendra, did you want to add anything to that?
I don't think so, Heidi. I think other than just really, we wanted to create that space for educators within the building that I work in, simply just because we want them to take that time. We want them to take that time for themselves, that time that they need. Oftentimes, when I chat with staff around the building, they don't take a lunch break. I don't take a lunch break a lot of times either. Like I said before, I'm the special education teacher, and my focus is in emotional disturbance. So I deal with behaviors all day. And it does bring my heart rate up. It does create that tension and that anxiety. So for OpenMIND and for Heidi and I, that we came up with this idea that this room serves as this space that we can go, that we can breathe, that we can use the guided meditation. We can just simply have a couple minutes to ourselves to focus our thoughts and our energy, and then we can be our best selves when we're with our students. And it's a great space. It's an awesome space, and I'm just so excited. And I just feel that this is such a small part of what we have in mind, and I'm excited for the future, because we really need to bring this into other schools as well.
Absolutely. And one of the things we talk about as a team is SEL, and how important that is not only for our students, but for adults. So even just from, the second competency that I have there, it says self-management. Do we regulate our own emotions? Do we manage our own stress? Do we have self-control, self-regulation? And as an adult, I can say, I don't always have that. That's something I'm constantly working on too, is not taking on the emotions and stress of others, being able to stay steady and aligned in who I am and in my communication and in my behavior, and even just self-awareness, being able to tap in, listen to our own feelings, relax, and know, wow, I'm overwhelmed. I need to take some time for myself before I go into that IEP meeting, or before I meet with my, staff members, or before I communicate and interact with the student, because I'm overwhelmed right now. And so we look at this SEL kind of wheel and think, oh, this is what we need to be teaching our students. We need to be embodying that before we can teach our students that. And I'm almost 40. I wasn't raised with a lot of this. We didn't have Second Step or Mind Up or some of these SEL curriculums in school growing up. So unless you had parents or a teacher that really modeled that for you throughout your childhood, your coping skills may be lacking as well. And that's not to shame anybody. It's just to be truthful, that until we learn some of these things for ourselves, we're just operating on old patterns. Mm-hmm. And so we really wanted to bring adult SEL, that conversation, to Washington Elementary and some of these other schools. So Kendra was really the spearhead behind the design of all of this. As you can see, some of these images show what one of the rooms looked like. And we wanted to start with one, but Washington Elementary actually had 2 spaces. So Kendra, if you want to talk about the Inspiration Station and the Zen Den and kind of how teachers can utilize the space now that it's open and ready to go.
Sure. So, the first thing when OpenMIND presented this idea to Heidi and I, we thought, oh, right. Like, we're going to get these teachers to go into a room, sit on a yoga mat, and take a couple deep breaths. And so Heidi and I chatted a couple times, and we thought, well, what if we put a super rad massage chair in one of these rooms? And so we partnered with our local furniture store, Keatings. They are phenomenal individuals. They are always more than willing to support the community. And they helped us purchase a massage chair. And you can't see it real great in the picture here, but to the left, it has Bluetooth. It can obviously connect to your phone, to the guided meditations. It has, I believe, 10 different settings. It seriously is life-changing. And so simply what we've asked teachers to do is they can scan the QR code that you see in the image, or what most have done now is they've just bookmarked the website that we have created. And so through some conversations, we decided that we should probably name these rooms. So the room that we see in the images is called the Zen Den. And so the teacher goes to the Room to Breathe website, chooses which room they would like to spend their time in, and they can book a 20-minute session. And then what we do is we just ask 5 questions just so that they can rate their stress level before going into the room. And then they pump in their email address and their name, and then it links to their Google account so that they don't forget about their appointment. And they spend that 20 minutes in the room. They can go into the room, choose an essential oil to diffuse. They can climb into the chair. And you'll see now Heidi switched over to our next room. This is called the Inspiration Station. And climb into the chair, set up the chair for a 17-minute massage, I think it is. And then we ask that they clean the chair after. And it's been great. And I think that a lot of teachers really look forward to that time that they get. I know our lunch staff has really been utilizing it. I've gotten the janitor to jump in the chair once or twice now. And, a lot of the paraprofessionals that we have at the school, they get a 30-minute lunch break. So some of them have even opted to not have lunch and spend their break in the Zen Den or the Inspiration Station.
And I wanted to mention, again, the partnership between Washington Elementary, Keatings, and OpenMIND. And I think it just proves that when there's an idea and a vision and a purpose behind what you're trying to do, when people get together and collaborate for the common goal, of improving teacher mental health and well-being, that these things can really take off. And now we've got a long waiting list of other schools that are interested. And your principal, Kendra, maybe you want to talk about Kendo and what he won this year and just how he's been as a leader for your school. He really wants to talk.
Yeah, so Kendall Carlson, he is the principal at Washington Elementary in the Mina Public School District. He is a pretty cool guy. He won the Principal of the Year this year, and he's just always ready to try new things and to support his staff any way that he can. So when Heidi and I came up with this idea and I presented it to him, he, I think, was more excited than I was. And, I said, well, we want to create this space. And he said, well, let's get 2 chairs. He was just more than willing. And I think that he sees that his staff are tired. They are stressed out. I know that this is a topic that we have talked about. So, I mean, way too often is with the pandemic and us having to distant learn and the changes. And, he's been great, and he's supportive, and he sees the need, and he is willing to do anything he can to support his staff and the needs of his students as well. So I'm lucky to be a part of Washington, and he's a great boss.
Yeah, and we were so lucky to partner with you and to have Kendo kind of leading the charge. So I wanted to share a few more resources here before we close. But through the OpenMIND website, we were really dedicated to offering resources for teachers, educators, parents. When you land on the website, openmind.nd.org, you can click down on the resources and it says for teachers, for parents, for communities. I mean, you just select what you're looking for. And we've got lots of options there, lots of guided practices, some videos that you can try with your students. Primarily, at this point, it's K through 6. We look forward to developing more for middle school and high school, but this is kind of our focus area for now, which is why we're partnering with Washington. Doesn't mean that we're not open to putting room to breathe in high schools, and we've had inquiries actually from 2 here in Bismarck that we're looking at implementing this summer. There is a bit of a turnaround time, so in the meantime, we try to provide other resources for teachers, but there's just lots of great information out there for you. And if you feel overwhelmed, like where do I even begin? This is a great place. It's a great place to start, knowing that our kids each and every day are learning from us in so many ways, not just academics, but also that social and emotional piece. And knowing that, our emotional intelligence is more of a predictor of success than our IQ. For me, as an occupational therapist and mindfulness educator, that has been my big push, is like, let's get more, curriculum for teachers that can ripple out into the classrooms as it relates to social and emotional well-being. So on the resources page, you can start to click around and see that we've got just some basics on there, 5 ways to introduce mindfulness to your students as it relates to self-awareness, self-management, relationship skills, conflict resolution. All of these things our kids are going to need to be successful in today's world. This is where you can sign up for more information. It's openmindnd.org. And we are on Facebook. We do a weekly guided meditation. If you're interested, you can just click there. I take us through maybe a 5 to 7 minute guided practice on, anything ranging from decreasing our anxiety to increasing our joy. I mean, there's ways that we can work with the mind and the thoughts to feel better, because when we feel better, we do better. And so we're really trying to pump out those resources for people. We're also on Instagram. We've got a YouTube channel with video resources there that you can check out. And then Twitter. So if you want to be part of our community, you can also sign up for the newsletter to see what's going on. And then Kendra, is there anything you wanted to add about the resources or LEWOC?
I was just going to add too that we have had quite a few individuals reach out and say, have said to us, how do we get one of these rooms in our school? And so what we did with our team, we meet every Tuesday and we just strategize how we can make this better, how we can make this simpler, and really expand these rooms to breathe. And so we created a section on our website where you can go directly and make a donation to OpenMIND, and you can make a donation directly to the school of your choice. We kind of jumped around with some numbers, but with the chair, with us creating that space, we, are looking for about $5,500. And with that amount of money, I think we can create a pretty phenomenal space for your school.
Mm-hmm. And I should mention also the grants page. We've been contacted by a number of schools that maybe don't have the 5,500 and they're right around that 3,000 mark. They can do, one school is doing a jeans fundraiser, one school is going to their PTO, and then they can apply for a grant in addition to that, where we will help cover some of those costs, because we do a big fundraiser each year called Lee Walk, which is up in Minot, and it's the Saturday after Labor Day every year. And it's an art and music festival for families. And so it's very family friendly. I think they've had, a big, last year, not last year, 2 years ago was the guy that does these big balloons, and he was the hot ticket event. I was over teaching kids yoga, and all the kids were at the balloon guy, and I was like, what do I need to do here? But it's just a lot of fun. They've got music, food trucks. It's just awesome. A big art tent where you can come and make art projects with your kids, and it's really just to celebrate life, right? It unfortunately was created after the loss of Lee, to suicide, but they've taken something so tragic and taken their pain and really turned it into purpose. And so now here we are, with OpenMIND, creating more of a conversation around mental health and specifically for schools. So we hope that you check out the website, check out some of the resources. And if you have any questions, there's lots of contact info on there where you can reach out to us. But I also just want to thank each and every one of you teachers, for what you do, you administrators, principals, support staff, for what you do for the kids each and every day. It doesn't go unnoticed, and it's so important.